Yes, we'd like to talk to you about the pilot we are doing with the Dutch government and with Sluis and with Innovalo also involved. But first let's introduce myself. I'm Peter Eikelboom. I'm an innovation manager at the Volksbank. The Volksbank is a retail bank, and we strongly believe that you should be the owner of your own data. We even read it in our data vision that you should be in control of your data. So that is an interesting point of view from a bank, because a bank is normally, of course, into managing your money. So it's our dream that now you are in control of your own money. You are really decide where do you spend your money. Shouldn't that be the same with your own data? That you have some kind of thing. Is the vault? Is the wallet? Is it some kind of mechanism that in the future you have the same control over your own data, and that you can decide where and how do you share your data. Of course, it doesn't have to tell you this vision here in this group, but when you say these things within retail banking land, it's quite a statement to say. And we definitely know that this is a great challenge, it's a great dream. So we are talking about the ecosystem, so we can't do this alone. We can maybe, in the Netherlands, we can help grow such an ecosystem, but we can make this thing on our own. So we are partnering with a lot of different companies, including Sluis.
Thank you so much. So more about me and about Sluis. I'm Marie-José and I'm one of the co-founders of Sluis. We started Sluis about 3 years ago because we had this big dream. We dream of a world in which each individual is back in control of his own information again. And we know that that mission is big. But we also found a way to realize this. We thought, turn the data stream around and build for each individual on the internet his own multiple encrypted, distributed digital vault, in which he or she can store all personal information, ranging from simple addresses, photos, test results, diplomas, to real complex financial, medical information. From that Sluis vault, only you have the key, and you decide to whom you disclose parts of this information, for what reason you disclose it, and also for what period you disclose it. Of course, the software that we're building should be open source. No hidden doors or whatever. Everybody should be able to see how it's built, for what reason it's built, so that everybody can cooperate as well in building. And what's also important, we truly believe that the organization behind such PDM solution should never be a commercial organization. Because if it would be a commercial organization, we're building practically the new Facebook or Google, where profit maximization and shareholder values are the rulers for decisions to make. And we believe that this organization should always be formed from the people. So a cooperative, where each Sluis user is co-owner of the organization as well. But we can't also make this work alone. We also want to cooperate with banks, insurance companies, etc. to make it work, and to co-create together with all those parties and find a solution for this. So once we found the cooperation, we are co-creating together, and what we are building, what we are setting up now is a proof of concept. Peter will tell you something more.
Yes, let's talk about that pilot. How does it work, and what do we want to learn? Last year we spent a lot of time thinking about this concept. We tried some different stuff, we did some testing with users, and this year Sluis built their first version of their vault, of their data wallet, whatever you call it. So now it's time to, we actually can make something really work and validate this dream, because I think most people in this room think this is a great idea, but did we really test this with people? Is there really a good customer journey who supports this? Is there really a good technical base to make this and to have a good performance around this? So we thought about the use case around the mortgage. Let's say you imagine that you see a beautiful house and you have an appointment with your bank. And of course, when you visit the bank needs to know a lot about you around incomes, around your debts. And we thought, can we just test one of those data points, of your personal data points, to collect that and to share that and have with that a complete customer journey we can validate and can learn how this really works in practice. So what we did, wouldn't it be great that when you are at the bank, that the advisor there could say, okay, take your mobile phone. I have here a data request hidden in a QR code or maybe in a small URL. You take your phone, you scan the QR code, and that moment instantly you are connected with your wallet, with your vault. And if you don't have a vault, you can make it instantly, you can register a new one. And when you are in your vault, it knows the data request, so it can connect to the place where the data is placed, as long as it's placed with a data provider. And in this case, in the Netherlands, DUO, it's a governmental services knows if you have a study debt and how much it is. So your mobile phone or your data wallet connects to the DUO. You have to log in, of course, at that point. It collects the data. It gives it back to your data wallet, and when you give their consent that you can share it with the Volksbank, at that moment it's shared with the Volksbank, and at that moment we can go on with the process and we can give you a quote of the mortgage. Why is it important that it is real data? Because we tested it last year with some dummy data, and it's a completely different feeling when you have some dummy thing and you click around it and you say, oh yeah, it looks nice, it sounds nice. We think we can really learn not only technical how it works, but also for the important part, the customer journey part, is how do our customers like this journey? What are the benefits for them? There's also one of there's a small promo for tomorrow. We like to brainstorm around that in an open space. Is what is really important in that journey, is a customer journey, and what are the benefits really that is firing up this kind of ecosystem. But first, let's look more at the wallet. How does it work? What is important in MyData?
How does it work? The big secret behind the wallet. Well, first of all, what we truly believe is that at the moment your information is scattered all over the internet, hundreds of thousands of places, and you don't know where these places are anymore. And you don't know what your information is used for, but you know for sure that that information can never be up to date at all these places. So we thought, why don't we turn the data stream around and store all your information in one central place, in that digital, multiple encrypted, distributed vault. So that study depth, which you saw, in the end, when Sluice is fully operational, it won't be a DUO anymore, it will be in your vault, from where you grant access. And what's then important from that vault, that we foresee techniques where 3 layers are important and separate, a sort of trias politica, we would say, in techniques. And in that trias politica, there's one layer meant for identification, authentication. Are you really you? And is your information that you disclose, is that really correct? If I go to the bank for the mortgage request, the bank really wants to know my true study depth, for sure. So that's one layer. The second layer is authorization. To whom do I disclose access on that personal vault? For what reason do I disclose my information? And also, maybe for what period do I disclose that information? Second layer. The third layer, also a very important layer, is the storage layer. So if we are building a system where all the information of all individuals is stored, it needs to be as safe as possible. So we can't store it in one big database, of course. It needs to be in a distributed system. So in all these three layers, technology and developments are taking place. For big parties sometimes. So we're looking to all those developments and connect them below the surface together and present the dashboard over it. That's what we are doing. So that means that you don't have a vendor lock-in as well. The digital vault that we have built at the moment is in a distributed system, of course. We've now built it on IPFS, which means that the information stored in your, what it means first of all is that you can open the digital vault completely client-side. So we from Sluice side don't know that you've opened, that a vault has been opened. So we even don't know that you have opened it. That's really important. Secondly, it means that the information that you store in that distributed vault is torn into pieces. Each piece is individually multiple encrypted and then divided over the internet. The internet itself is the storage in this system. That makes it really important. Yeah, and once again, it's really important that the organization around a PDM like this should always be independent. Also for companies who are who will hand over the information to you and me, etc. It's important for them as well that they're not handing over that information to another commercial company where they're out of control of that information. Their intention is to give you the control back again, and you only have that control in an organization where you are part of the management, I would say. So that's why the cooperative is really important. Okay, last. Oh, not that last, I meant. Yeah.
Yes, to conclude this all, what you want to do and to achieve with this pilot. We think it's important to start small. It's a big dream, it's a big ecosystem, but I hope we elaborate on it, that we want to start it with a small piece of information, just transport that real information back to the user and give consent to a real use case. Why do we want to start small? Because we think we need still a lot to validate. We need to validate the technique, we need to validate the customer journey, and from there on we have to learn and pivot and make this great ecosystem working together. And that's the last bullet point. We like to address that this is a thing that isn't a thing for one company, for one use case. I think this is an ecosystem which we do, and we do it right. We grow it together, and with every use case, with every data provider who is joining this kind of ecosystem, this thing is getting more and more powerful. And that is also our dream at our side. Is we don't think that the ecosystem itself should be the business model. But when this ecosystem is emerging and this is in place, it's incredibly powerful. You can do with it. It's in the business side, in things like the cost side. We had the pilot with the mortgage. You can imagine when you connect all your data with one click, and we can provide you with one click with a quote. That would be incredibly powerful. But we can also have very variable new business propositions made on that, and I think that is the real side. Is when this is in place, that is a kind of fuel, kind of oil in the whole digital system.
Questions? Yes.
Just going first to the last point. Do you have a developer API so third parties can develop applications that use my Sluice data wallet, for instance?
Sorry. I don't know whether everybody, but the question was whether there was a developer API so you can reuse the solution.
No, not yet, because what we are building right now with the pilot that we're doing with the Volksbank is to give consent from your data vault to the Volksbank, of course. But we're testing that also with IPFS solution, which means that the consent that you give, that you're not really giving the data away, it stays at your sluice vault and only disclosure is given to the bank. So in the end, when the sluice vault is really up and functional, data stays at its original premises and only disclosure is granted. And we're really testing with that because that's new future technology as well. And we're testing that at the moment in the pilot that we're doing. So keep a look at us.
At that moment, there will be an API, I think.
Yeah, probably, but we're not sure what's how it will look like. But at the moment, we don't have it available yet.
Yes?
Actually, I have 2 or 3 questions. The first question is in the context of the bank, and what is the biggest struggle from the bank perspective to keep the user data within the bank? Because there is overall my understanding is that more you know about the customer, better services you can provide, right? It means that you need to collect more data about that user or customer to provide better services for them. But in this, what you said at the beginning is that you don't want to deal with those data. How you will comment that in the context of collaborating with the customer within the scope of the services of the bank without keeping data about themselves?
I think there are 2 aspects important in this question. The first aspect is, I think we should go back to a situation where every time you share your data and you get something back, there is a win-win situation. Now your data is stored and you don't know really what is done with it, and you don't know what's the win situation for yourself. And I think it will be, and that's also our vision, it will be healthy and powerful that you have transparency about that, what that situation is, and also transparency when you share something, what you're getting back for that. The second part of your question is, do you have the data on yourself, or is it stored with Sluice, or where is the data and what can you do with it? That's an interesting one because there are several aspects, of course. There are legal aspects, something you need to know for a certain period about your client, but that doesn't say that you actually do need to store that data of your client. You also can, when you look at the future, you also can think of a mechanism that the data is really under control of your customer, and that you have for the legally period of 7 years, I believe, you have a consent that you can use that kind of data. So I think it's really, when you think about it, when you think about how to turn over the data stream, it's really maybe some mind-blowing thing how that should work. But we and of course it won't happen in one day, but we think that, well, it's the right way to think about how you should cooperate with your clients.
Maybe we also move to the screen and your questions, two kind of related questions. One is how does a user really know they own the digital vault? So how do you make explicit that they open the digital vault? And the second question related to that, how do you make sure that the right information eventually gets into that vault? I would like to interpret it like that.
What was the first question?
How do you make explicit that you as a vault are in that customer journey? How is that? So that's the second bullet for below. How does the user really know he owns or she owns a digital vault?
Oh, yeah, that's part of the user journey that we're setting up right now. That you get a data request from the bank in this case, in which you can say, okay, I want to disclose that information through my own personal system. And now that I don't have it, I need to open one first, and that's really easily done. And then in that that vault that you open yourself, then you can easily find that data request again. So that's a way to set up your vault in this stage. But in the end, of course, it should be possible that you decide yourself, okay, I want to have my own sluice vault or my own data vault, and I open one, and from there I start to operate. And the second part of the question was?
Yeah, once you have that vault, how does it continue? Or couldn't you have opened it earlier?
Yeah, you can open it earlier. You can store personal information in it as well. So I decide to store certain information in it, and from there I decide to whom I disclose it. But I think the question was also, how do you know that it's relevant information and it's authenticated information? So with that sluice, with the pilot that we're setting up with Volksbank at the moment, they need to know for sure that study depth that you're disclosing is for sure that depth, nothing more, nothing less. So DUO, that Dutch organization, governmental organization, validates and puts that study depth in your vault from where you're able to disclose it. So what we foresee in the far future is that organizations have access to your sluice vault to store information in it, and they keep access to it to lower your study depth once you have paid off certain parts of it, or in case of your age, for instance, once you get 18, you need to know from your sluice vault on that your age has gone up, which you can arrange, of course, by your birth date as well. But other parties, they have access to store information in it and to adapt it when that's required. But you're the only one able to disclose it to third parties.
Final one?
Final one. There's a lot of distrust in this industry, especially in the UK, where you can apply for a loan or a mortgage and be turned down by a credit reference agency, and you don't know on what basis that has been declined.
Yeah.
Could this improve the situation?
Yeah, I believe this truly can, because you know what information you disclose. The request comes to you directly, and you disclose that information. But we were having a discussion about it this morning, about the AI which might work on that information, and that's a different story, of course.
It should also be a fair and transparent algorithm, and that's
Okay.
based on your data.
That's different.
That's the two
Yeah.
things, of course.